Hey everyone, let's jump right in. If you've ever been involved in taking a product from just a tiny spark of an idea all the way through development, launch, and maturity, well, you already know exactly how chaotic it can get. You've probably sat in that launch meeting where engineering is totally misaligned with marketing, and suddenly your budget is bleeding dry. It kind of feels like you're trying to build a ship while actively sailing it through a hurricane, right? Well, today we're going to change that narrative. This explainer is your ultimate playbook to explain in detail the strategic foundations of product lifecycle management. Think of the framework we're building today as the reinforced hull of a highly stable ship, one that's designed to keep your product afloat and perfectly on course, no matter what the market throws at you.
Okay, let's dive into this. We've got three main pillars today. Number 1, structuring your organization. Number 2, selecting the right metrics. And number 3, managing uncertainty and risk.
Let's start with pillar number 1, structuring your organization. Because before you can even chart a course, you absolutely need to know who is manning the ship. Managing a product over its entire life cycle isn't just about the product itself, It's heavily dependent on the human element. You have to start by really evaluating the strengths of different organizational forms. Are you highly centralized, or maybe more decentralized? Whatever form you take, establishing clear responsibilities is just paramount. This is especially true if you're operating in a matrix organization where people are reporting to multiple managers. Without crystal clear boundaries, a matrix structure can so quickly turn into a tangled mess of miscommunication, where everyone just assumes somebody else is handling the problem. From there, your success really hinges on deliberately choosing and enlisting the right team members who perfectly align with the specific phase your product is actually in.
And that brings us to one of the most vital logistical choices you'll make, where your team actually sits. Co-location versus partial co-location. Co-location, meaning your entire core team is in the exact same physical space or a highly integrated virtual space, offers incredible power. Ideas just flow freely, problems get solved over quick, casual conversations, and the synergy is incredibly high. Compare that to partial co-location, where, say, engineering is on one floor and marketing is in a totally different building, or maybe half the team is remote. Partial co-location inevitably introduces friction. Now, it's not inherently wrong, but you absolutely must actively manage that friction, because if you don't, physical distance very quickly turns into strategic distance.
Which brings up a really critical question. How do you effectively manage part-time team members? In almost every product lifecycle, you're going to rely on specialists who simply aren't dedicated to your product 100% of the time. It's notoriously difficult, right? Their attention is completely divided. You really have to ensure they're fully enlisted in the vision, even if they only touch the project for, say, 5 hours a week. If you don't integrate them properly, they actually become a bottleneck rather than an asset.
All right, let's transition to pillar number 2, selecting the right metrics.
If your team is the crew, your metrics are the navigation instruments keeping you on course. So I want you to really ask yourself, are your metrics creating unnecessary overhead? Is the data you're gathering actually helping you make decisions, or is it just weighing the ship down? It's incredibly common for teams to just track everything simply because they can, but generating reports that nobody reads or acting on data that doesn't actually impact the product's success, that is the literal definition of unnecessary overhead. It just drains time and energy that really should be spent on the product itself.
So determining the correct metrics really makes all the difference here. Good metrics allow for decentralized control through decision rules. What this means is you establish rules based on the data. For example, if customer wait times drop below a certain threshold, the engineering team automatically pivots to fix it. You don't need a massive committee meeting. The metric itself empowers the team to act right then and there. Bad metrics, on the flip side, are the ones that require constant centralized review. They slow everything down and create that dreaded, unnecessary overhead we were just talking about.
So the absolutely crucial point here is prioritizing leading indicators. Leading indicators are metrics used to identify future problems before they actually occur. Look, most teams rely way too heavily on lagging indicators, things like last month's sales or completed milestones. That is literally like navigating a ship by looking at the wake behind you. Leading indicators, though, they're your radar. If you see daily active users drop just a little bit on a Tuesday, that's a leading indicator of a major revenue problem coming next month. Your strategic foundation has to prioritize these forward-looking metrics.
And now we arrive at pillar number 3, managing uncertainty and risk.
This is the climax of our framework. It's where we confront reality and prepare our ship for the inevitable storms. And there is a massive fundamental difference between risk minimization and risk management. Risk minimization is trying to eliminate all risk. It's just staying safely in the harbor. But if you do that, your product will never innovate, and you're just going to be outpaced by competitors. Risk management, on the other hand, is acknowledging that sailing out into the open ocean is super dangerous, but choosing to do it anyway, with lifeboats, weather tracking, and a well-trained crew. It's about intelligently taking risks, not just avoiding them altogether.
To manage risk intelligently, we really have to look at the two primary types you're going to face: technical risk versus market risk. On one side, we have technical risk. This is mostly internal. It's the question of, can we actually build this thing? Does the technology even work? And on the other side is market risk. This is entirely external. It asks, if we build it, will anyone actually care? Will they actually buy it?
Now, while tools absolutely must be deployed to manage both of these risks, your primary focus really needs to be on the market risk. Why is that? Well, because technical risk is largely under your team's control. You can hire smarter engineers or just give them a bit more time. Market risk, though, that is entirely out of your control. You simply cannot force the market to want your product. Therefore, the strategic tools you build into your lifecycle management, things like rapid prototyping, customer feedback loops, and beta testing, they must be aggressively targeted at deciphering and managing that market risk.
This brings us to a critical philosophical concept in lifecycle management: decisions versus outcomes.
This is really the ultimate test of your strategy, the importance of differentiating between bad decisions and bad outcomes. This is a concept that directly challenges our natural biases. In business, we tend to judge the quality of a decision solely by the result, right? But when you're managing a product lifecycle, you have to understand this distinction. Because uncertainty exists, you can gather all the right data, perfectly align your team, make a totally brilliant, calculated, strategic decision, and still get a bad outcome just due to sheer market unpredictability. And conversely, you could make a completely terrible, reckless decision and just get super lucky with a good outcome. If you don't separate the process from the actual result, you are going to learn the wrong lessons. You'll start punishing smart risk-taking and rewarding reckless luck.
So, I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought to really reflect on as you look at your own product lifecycle strategies. Are you punishing bad decisions or just bad outcomes? Seriously, take a hard look at your team culture and your post-mortem reviews. Are you genuinely punishing flawed decision-making processes, or are you just punishing bad outcomes that were frankly the result of unavoidable uncertainty? Mastering that distinction, right alongside organizing your crew and setting your navigational metrics, is what truly creates a rock-solid strategic foundation. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope you can take these insights and apply them directly to your own product journeys.